Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
Welcome back to the deep dive. I am really thrilled to have you joining us again as we get into some fascinating stuff about money, how we think about it, how we earn it, and how we live with it. Today, we're cracking open Chapter 3 from our source material. It's got this really provocative title, Never Enough. And believe me, it's going to make you think, maybe challenge some of your basic ideas about wealth and, well, happiness. Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into something that feels, almost like a contradiction. This idea that having more money doesn't automatically equal being happier. In fact, sometimes chasing more all the time can actually lead to, well, disaster, unhappiness, really bad choices, sometimes even total ruin.
Yeah, it's a crucial point you're raising there.
So the big question for us today is, how do these incredibly successful people, people with wealth most of us can barely imagine, how do they still get caught in this trap? This insatiable desire for more, often risking everything they already have, and maybe more importantly, everything they actually need. What pushes someone who's already at the top, financially speaking, to keep going, often right over the edge?
You've really hit on something central there. Because, as a society, we tend to look at financial success mostly through the lens of accumulation, right? Bigger numbers, more assets. The portfolio always needs to grow.
Yeah, bigger is better.
Bigger is better, exactly. But this chapter and what we're digging into today, it frames it quite differently. It's not just about the raw amount of money someone has.
Okay.
It's more about these, deeply ingrained human behaviors, these psychological patterns that, drive our decisions, and the huge impact of our internal grasp, or maybe our lack of grasp of what enough actually means.
That internal sense.
Precisely. And this isn't, just about the billionaires or the famous names you hear about. It's a really pervasive psychological challenge. It affects pretty much everyone's financial life, no matter where they are on the ladder right now.
Yeah.
It boils down to that internal feeling,
Yeah.
Psychological satisfaction or dissatisfaction, more than just the numbers on a spreadsheet.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, our mission really is to explore how this constant chase for more, often fueled by these goalposts that just keep moving, and that tricky trap of comparing ourselves to others, how that can lead people down a path to, personal and financial ruin. We want to show you how defining your own sense of enough isn't just some nice philosophical idea, or something for people who aren't ambitious. It's actually a critical, often completely overlooked, but totally essential financial skill.
It really is. Foundational, almost.
Yeah. So we'll use some really powerful stories and some deep insights from the source material to make these sort of abstract ideas feel real, relatable, and hopefully really valuable for you as you figure out your own financial path. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
The mirage of more when accumulation leads to ruin.
Okay, so to get us started, let's dive right into this anecdote. It just perfectly, almost painfully captures the core tension we're talking about today.
Yeah, this one's a classic.
Right. So picture this. A super glamorous party, impossibly fancy, out on Shelter Island. It's packed with the financial elite billionaires, big shot investors, all mingling, talking deals.
High flyers.
Exactly. And amidst all this, you've got the writer Kurt Vonnegut talking with his friend Joseph Heller, the author of Catch-22.
A literary legend.
Totally.
Oh.
So Vonnegut points out to Heller, maybe a little wistfully, that their host is this big hedge fund manager, one of those guys managing huge sums for wealthy clients, making crazy returns.
Right, playing in a different league financially.
He'd made more money in one single day than Heller had earned from his incredibly famous book, Catch-22, over its entire lifetime. Think about that.
It's staggering when you put it like that.
And Heller's response, it was simple, but just, wow, a total mic drop. He just looked at Vonnegut and said, yes, but I have something he will never have.
Beyond.
Enough.
Ah, there it is.
Just enough. And this is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Because that tiny exchange, it just lays bare the central conflict of this whole deep dive, that stark, sometimes uncomfortable difference between having tons of material wealth and having this deep internal feeling of contentment.
Exactly. It's a powerful reminder, almost poetic, like you said. Money can buy a lot, no doubt, security, fancy things, opportunities, but it doesn't automatically buy that very personal, very human sense of sufficiency.
Yeah, you can't order enough on Amazon.
Chuckles slightly. No, you really can't. It's a state of mind, not a commodity. Heller's comment just cuts through all the usual ways we measure success, the balance sheets, the income statements. It points to this basic human tendency we often forget. No matter how much we get, how high we climb, there's often this little voice, this nagging feeling that it's still not quite enough.
Always needing more.
Which raises a really big question for all of us, right? What actually drives people, even those with just incredible wealth people who, by any objective standard, have way more than enough? What drives them to keep pushing for more, often in ways that end up hurting them badly?
Yeah, what's the psychology there?
As you said so well, it's clearly not about the actual dollar amount. It has to be about some specific, often hard to pin down internal state. That psychological satisfaction, or maybe more often, that psychological dissatisfaction.
Right.
It might be about status, or maybe a feeling of security that money promises but never quite delivers, or maybe just chasing novelty. It seems money, weirdly, often fails to really satisfy those deeper drives.
And to really see how dangerous this endless chase can be, let's look at some pretty extreme but very telling real-world examples right from the top of the financial world.
These stories are sobering.
They really are. Our first one is just a spectacular fall from grace. The story of Rajat Gupta. I mean, this guy's journey was incredible, a total rags to riches story.
The kind people make movies about.
Exactly. Came from humble beginnings, slums of Kolkata in India, but just brilliant, incredibly ambitious. Climbed all the way up to become the CEO of McKinsey & Company.
Which is, arguably the most prestigious consulting firm in the world. Huge deal.
Huge.
Yeah.
And then he retires in his 40s, which is already amazing. Seems like he's all set for this life of global impact, philanthropy, working with the UN, the World Economic Forum, partnering with Bill Gates.
They're living the dream by any measure.
Absolutely. So by 2008, and that year becomes really important, Gupta is reportedly worth $100 million. $100 million.
I think pause on that number. It's hard to even comprehend for most people.
Right. And the source material makes this great point. Just a basic 5% return on that much money, which is pretty conservative, easy to get on the market. That alone generates almost $600 an hour. Every hour, 2047, without him doing anything.
Wow. That's passive income on a scale most can't fathom.
He had it all, objectively speaking. Unbelievable wealth, massive prestige, power, total freedom to do whatever he wanted. He could have chosen any path.
So what went wrong?
Well, this is the kicker. The source tells us what he really wanted, what was eating at him, was to be a billionaire.
Ah, not just a 100-millionaire.
Nope. He was already in the hundreds of millions circle, be on the board of Goldman Sachs and places like that. But he desperately, maybe obsessively, needed to be in that billionaire circle. It wasn't about needing more money for things. It was status. It was about belonging to that even more exclusive club.
That upward comparison again.
Exactly. And this burning desire for more, for that next zero, it led him down this incredibly dark, self-destructive road.
Okay.
So 2008, financial crisis is raging. Goldman Sachs is in trouble. Warren Buffett, the legendary investor, decides he's going to make a huge $5 billion investment to stabilize the bank.
A massive vote of confidence. That's huge news.
Huge. And as a Goldman board member, Gupta finds out about this deal before it's public knowledge. Highly valuable inside information, right? Because Buffett's backing would obviously make Goldman's stock price jump.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yep. Just 16 seconds after hearing about the deal, while he's still literally on the confidential board, call to Gupta hangs up and immediately calls a hedge fund manager named Rajaratnam.
16 seconds. That's blatant.
The call itself wasn't recorded, but what happened next was crystal clear. Rajaratnam immediately bought 175,000 shares of Goldman Sachs stock. A few hours later, the Buffett deal is announced publicly, Goldman stock shoots up, and Rajaratnam makes a quick $1 million profit. Just like that.
Wow. Off that one tip.
And apparently this wasn't a one-off thing. The SEC later claimed Gupta's tips led to something like $17 million in illegal profits for Rajaratnam's fund over time.
So the consequences must have been severe.
Catastrophic. Both Gupta and Rajaratnam went to prison for insider trading. Their amazing careers, their reputations built over decades, their personal freedom, all gone. Irrevocably ruined.
It's just such a stark story. And when you connect it to the bigger picture, the psychologist you were talking about, it's almost unbelievable, isn't it? It shows so clearly that the problem wasn't a lack of money.
Not at all.
It was this deep, dangerous absence of a feeling of enough. He literally had everything anyone could reasonably want: wealth, beyond measure, prestige, power, freedom, the chance to do good in the world.
Threw it all away.
Exactly, threw it all away because he wanted more. And it's not just simple greed, though I'm sure that's part of it. It really highlights this incredibly powerful psychological trap, doesn't it? Constantly comparing upwards, chasing a moving target, and then taking completely irrational risks to try and hit it.
Blurring the line between ambition and recklessness.
Precisely. Healthy ambition becomes this self-destructive pursuit. Even for someone like Gupta, who is already at the absolute peak, that chase for external validation, for getting into that billionaire circle, it just overshadowed all rational thinking. Utter catastrophe.
It really does make you wonder, doesn't it? What is it about getting so much success that sometimes seems to, I don't know, short-circuit rationality? Instead of feeling secure, people feel this need for even more.
It's a pattern, unfortunately.
And we see it repeated. Let's take another really stark example, Bernie Madoff. Now, everyone knows him now as this notorious fraudster, the architect of that massive Ponzi scheme.
Right, infamous.
But before all that collapsed, Madoff was actually seen as a hugely successful and totally legitimate businessman. He wasn't some fringe character. He was a market maker.
Which is a really crucial role in the markets, right? Providing liquidity.
Exactly. Matching buyers and sellers, making trading smooth and efficient. And he was apparently really, really good at it. The source tells us his legitimate market-making business was generating somewhere between $25 and $50 million a year, legitimately.
25 to 50 million a year. Okay, that's already immense wealth.
Immense. So what does this tell us for our discussion? It means, just like Rajat Gupta, Madoff already had huge legitimate wealth. He wasn't struggling. He wasn't desperate. He was incredibly, legitimately rich.
Okay, so the Ponzi scheme wasn't born out of necessity?
Not even close.
Yeah.
Yet, despite having this secure, massive income stream, he still chose to commit fraud. He ran that Ponzi scheme for decades, cheating investors out of billions before it all finally imploded. His motivation, again, it seems like it wasn't about a lack of money. It seemed to be this insatiable hunger for something more, something beyond what his already highly profitable, legitimate business could give him.
It's that same pattern, isn't it? What's truly striking here is the common thread between Gupta and Madoff. These weren't people pushed into crime by poverty or desperation.
Yep.
These were people who, by any objective standard, already had everything. Unimaginable wealth, prestige, power, freedom. Everything. And they risked it all, they threw it all away because they just wanted more.
It's a different kind of crime.
Completely different. It's distinct from, say, crime committed by those living on the edge of survival, which, while also tragic, often comes from a place of trying to meet basic needs. The actions of Gupta and Madoff and others like them, they point to a different kind of psychological issue, a fundamental flaw in how they defined enough for themselves.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett, he always has such sharp insights into this stuff. He famously talked about this very issue when the hedge fund long-term capital management collapsed back in the late 90s.
LTCM, another spectacular blow-up.
Exactly. And that, friend, remember, was staffed by literal geniuses, Nobel Prize winners, traders who were personally worth tens, even hundreds of millions.
Already rich beyond belief.
Right. Yet they risked everything chasing even more profit, and they lost it all, spectacularly, in the middle of a booming economy, no less.
So what was Buffett's take?
Buffett said, and this is such a great quote, "To make money they didn't have and didn't need, they risked what they did have and did need. And that's foolish. It is just plain foolish."
Wow, plain foolish.
He went on, "If you risk something that is important to you for something that is unimportant to you, it just does not make any sense."
That cuts right to the heart of it.
It really does. It perfectly captures the core insight here. There's just no rational reason, no logical argument for risking the things you have and truly need, like your reputation, your freedom, your family security, for something you don't have and in the grand scheme of things don't really need.
It seems so obvious when you put it like that.
It is obvious, and yet it's a truth that gets tragically ignored all the time in the real world.
Unpacking the behavioral mechanics of never enough.
Those are, really powerful and frankly pretty unsettling stories from the extreme end of finance. But like we said, this isn't just about billionaires messing up.
No, absolutely not.
This never enough feeling, the psychological mechanics behind it, they apply to all of us. It doesn't matter what your bank balance looks like, whether it's getting a small raise or a big bonus, buying a slightly nicer car, or stretching for a bigger house. These same forces are working on us. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit more. The source material gives us 3 really key lessons for understanding this, and more importantly, for maybe managing it in your own life.
And that overlooked truth, that kind of fundamental foolishness that Buffett pointed out, that's exactly why getting a handle on these behavioral patterns is so vital for your financial health, not just for the super rich.
Right.
If you can recognize these common traps, see them showing up in your own thinking or your own actions, you can actually do something about it. You can work to avoid them, build a more, resilient and satisfying financial life.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially in a world that's practically designed to constantly make you feel like you need more, like you should want more.
Okay, so lesson number 1. And the source calls this maybe the hardest financial skill there is. It's learning how to get the goalpost that won't stop moving to finally just stop.
The moving goalpost, yeah.
It's that thing where our expectations just creep up right alongside our results, right? You hit a financial target, maybe you get that raise you wanted, or an investment pays off, or you pay off a big debt.
Feels good for a minute.
And then instead of just enjoying that feeling, your brain immediately sets the next target, even further away. It creates this exhausting treadmill where, like the source says, 1 step forward pushes the goalpost 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, you never actually arrive.
Never. And the result is this constant low-level feeling of falling behind, like you're never quite measuring up, which then, and this is the dangerous part, makes you more inclined to take greater and greater amounts of risk. You feel like you have to, just to catch up to this target that keeps running away from you.
It's a vicious cycle.
Totally. Now, this next part is really insightful, maybe a little uncomfortable too. The source argues that modern capitalism, for all its strengths, is really, really good at 2 things.
Okay.
1, generating wealth, obviously, but 2, almost as a side effect, generating envy.
Wealth and envy, hand in hand.
Hand in hand, exactly. The source suggests they often go together. I mean, think about it. We're constantly bombarded with images of other people's success, right? Whether it's real success or just, carefully curated stuff online.
Mm-hmm. The highlight reel.
Yeah, the highlight reel. And seeing all that, it subtly, maybe unconsciously, bumps up our own aspirations. We see what they have, what they've done, and our internal benchmark just shifts upwards.
Right.
So if you think about happiness as a basic equation, like results minus expectations, well, if your expectations are always being pushed higher, always staying ahead of your actual results, then real satisfaction, no matter how much you actually achieve, just stays out of reach.
Always chasing.
Always chasing that horizon that just keeps receding as you get closer. You never actually get there.
What you're describing there, where our expectations just keep ratcheting up, it's a textbook example of something psychologists call hedonic adaptation, or the hedonic treadmill.
Hedonic adaptation, okay.
Yeah, basically it just means we get used to new things really quickly, even really good things. And then our baseline for what feels happy or normal just shifts up.
Like that new car feeling wears off fast.
Exactly. That new car, the bigger bonus, the successful project, maybe even that dream vacation, it gives you a rush at first, right? A feeling of satisfaction, accomplishment.
Sure.
But very quickly, almost without noticing, it just becomes the new normal. The initial joy fades, the novelty disappears, and our brain is already scanning for the next thing, the next achievement. That'll give us that same kind of buzz.
It's an endless cycle.
It really can be. And this constant pursuit of a moving target, it takes a real psychological toll. It can lead straight to burnout, chronic dissatisfaction, and, like you said, that dangerous increase in risk-taking, because you're always needing a bigger hit, that satisfaction feeling.
Right.
It fundamentally shifts our focus away from things that might bring deeper, more lasting fulfillment. Things like relationships, purpose, personal growth, and puts it all onto this external, often unreachable measure of success.
So how do you fight that?
Well, consciously. It involves things like actively practicing gratitude, finding joy in what you do have right now, and deliberately setting benchmarks for success that aren't just about money. It's about developing an internal compass for your desires, deciding what truly matters to you based on your values, not just seeking approval or letting what other people have define what you think you should want.
Shifting from what should I want to what do I actually value?
Precisely. It's a conscious choice.
Which leads us perfectly into the second lesson, the trap of social comparison. This is where that moving goalpost gets its rocket fuel, right? It just amplifies that feeling of never enough.
Oh, hugely. Comparison is the thief of joy, as they say.
Totally. And the source uses this brilliant but also kind of depressing ladder of wealth example to show just how unwinnable this game is.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, imagine a rookie baseball player. He just signed his first contract, maybe making $500,000 a year. Now, by almost any standard on earth, this guy is incredibly rich, right? Set for life if he's smart.
Absolutely. Top percentile income.
If he happens to play on the same team as a megastar like Mike Trout, who has, a $430 million contract, suddenly that rookie earning $500,000 can easily start to feel broke in comparison.
Yeah, relativity kicks in hard.
He sees Trout's lifestyle, maybe the private jet, the huge house, the endorsement deals, and his own $500,000 starts to feel inadequate.
Even though it's objectively a huge amount of money.
Right. But the comparison ladder doesn't stop there, does it? Mike Trout earning his $36 million a year, which is just astronomical, he might look at the top hedge fund managers. The source mentions some who earned $340 million in 1 year back in 2018.
Okay, now we're in truly rarefied air.
And maybe Trout thinks, hey, I work hard. My talent is unique. Why aren't I making that kind of money?
Yeah.
And then those hedge fund managers, who are they comparing themselves to?
There's always someone higher.
Always. Maybe they're looking at the absolute top 5 managers who pulled in over $770 million that same year. Or maybe they look up at Warren Buffett, whose wealth grew by $3.5 billion in 2018. Or Jeff Bezos, whose net worth jumped by $24 billion that year.
$24 billion.
Which, get this, works out to more money per hour than our rich rookie baseball player made in his entire year.
That puts in perspective. Wow.
The point is, and this is so crucial for you, the listener, to really internalize, the ceiling of social comparison is so high that virtually no one will ever hit it. There's always someone with more. It is plain and simple a battle that can never be won.
It's an unwinnable game by design.
So what's the takeaway for us? The source uses this really memorable casino analogy to hammer it home. A friend of the author asked this old, seen-it-all Las Vegas dealer what games he played in the casino.
Okay.
And the dealer, completely serious, just says, the only way to win in a Las Vegas casino is to exit as soon as you enter.
Jekyll's. That's bleakly accurate.
Isn't it? And the source argues that this advice applies perfectly to the game of trying to keep up with other people's wealth. If you don't define your own exit strategy, if you don't decide when you have enough and you're willing to just walk away from the comparison game, you are absolutely guaranteed to lose.
Because the house always wins.
Sort of, because the game itself never ends. And the stakes, fueled by this endless social comparison, just keep going up and up.
What's truly fascinating here is just how deep-seated this comparison instinct is in us. Especially now, right, in our hyper-connected world.
Yeah, social media doesn't help.
Exactly. It's not just your neighbors or colleagues anymore. It's the whole world's highlight reel, beamed onto your phone 24/7. It makes it incredibly easy to let these curated, often totally unrealistic images of other people's lives define your own goals.
So our reference group just keeps expanding.
Constantly expanding, constantly pushing our internal benchmarks higher, even if the people we're comparing ourselves to are playing a completely different financial game than we are. And this constant upward glance, it's a major source of dissatisfaction. It creates this gnawing feeling of not enough, even when objectively you might be doing great.
It's exhausting.
Utterly exhausting. So it's really vital for you, listening now, to try and consciously identify who your actual reference groups are, who you're really comparing yourself to, and then maybe make an active choice to just exit that game, opt out of the unwinnable comparison contest and focus instead on your own path, your own values, your own real goals.
Build your own score.
Build your own scorecard, exactly.
Yeah.
One that isn't dependent on what everyone else appears to have.
Okay, which brings us nicely to the third and final lesson in this part. And this one might feel a bit counterintuitive for a lot of people. It's that enough is not too little. It's a safeguard.
Right. This one pushes back against a common mindset.
It really does. There's this widespread idea, this misconception that saying, I have enough is somehow weak, conservative, like you lack ambition.
Yeah, like you're settling, leaving money on the table.
Exactly, like you're leaving opportunity and potential on the table, choosing the safe, boring path. But I'm telling you, and the source strongly agrees, that's just not the right way to look at it.
Okay, so what's the alternative view?
The alternative view is that defining enough isn't about limiting yourself. It's actually a powerful strategic realization. It's recognizing that the opposite path, that insatiable appetite for more, that unchecked drive for endless growth, almost always, inevitably, pushes you to the point of regret.
The point of regret. That's a strong phrase.
It is. And the source uses this really vivid, kind of visceral analogy to explain it. It says, the only way to know how much food you can eat is to eat until you're sick.
Oof. Yeah, nobody wants to do that.
Right. Nobody intentionally tries that, do they? We all instinctively know that vomiting hurts more than any meal is good. The pain, the discomfort, the regret of overdoing it massively outweighs any tiny pleasure from one more bite.
Makes sense.
Yet the source points out, for some strange reason, that same basic logic often fails to carry over into business or investing or just the general pursuit of wealth. People keep reaching for more, pushing way beyond what's healthy, way beyond sustainable, way beyond what they actually need.
Until they break.
Until they're forced to stop, often with really serious negative consequences. And that spectrum of regret, like we saw, it can range from something relatively minor, like burnout, or making overly risky investments you later regret.
All the way up to
The catastrophic criminal behavior of people like Gupta and Madoff. People who ended up stealing and committing fraud because, in their minds, getting every single extra dollar was worth it, no matter the cost, no matter the ethics or the law.
And this is really where, if we connect this back to overall financial well-being, defining enough stops being just a nice idea and becomes this really crucial proactive defense mechanism.
A safeguard, like the title says.
Exactly. A safeguard against both emotional and financial ruin. It's not about giving up your ambition. It's a calculated decision to protect what you have now and what you'll need in the future from that deep regret that comes when ambition runs wild, unchecked.
Building resilience.
Building a resilience into your financial life. Preventing those situations where you're either forced to stop because things blow up or where your choices lead to this profound, lasting regret. Whether that regret is financial ruin, legal trouble, or just a life filled with stress and dissatisfaction because you could never feel content.
It comes back to that Buffett quote, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally about protecting what you have and genuinely need, rather than constantly risking it all for things you don't have and ultimately don't truly need. It's a core principle for building long-term well-being, psychological safety, and real, lasting financial stability.
Practical reflections for you.
Okay, so we've gone through these powerful stories, these key lessons. What does this actually mean for you, listening right now, thinking about your own life and your own money?
Yeah, how do we bring this home?
Because this deep dive, it's not just about the extreme cases, the billionaires and the fraudsters, right? Though they're definitely cautionary tales. But the reality is, while maybe few of us will ever have $100 million like Gupta or Madoff.
Hopefully not their outcomes either.
Chuckles, definitely not their outcomes. But a good number of us, a measurable percentage, as the source puts it, will reach a point in life where we earn a salary or we have a sum of money saved up that's genuinely sufficient to cover every reasonable thing we need and probably a lot of what we want too.
Right. Many people reach a level of comfort, even affluence.
Exactly. So the lessons we've talked about today, the moving goalposts, the comparison trap, the importance of enough, they are incredibly relevant, incredibly actionable for the choices you make with your money every single day, no matter what your current income or net worth is.
So it's about self-reflection now.
Absolutely. Ask yourself these kinds of questions. How do your expectations tend to shift when your income goes up or when you have some financial success? Do you notice that raise, that bonus that once felt huge, how quickly it just becomes the new normal?
Yeah.
And you're already thinking about the next level.
Of hedonic adaptation in action.
Yeah. And who do you compare yourself to? Consciously or maybe subconsciously. When you think about your own financial situation, your desires, is it a colleague, a neighbor, someone you see on Instagram, maybe even a really successful relative?
It's important to be aware of those influences.
Definitely. And maybe the biggest question, are you, even in ways that seem small or harmless, are you risking things you have and genuinely need, like your peace of mind, your free time, your financial stability, maybe even your relationships for something you don't currently have and, if you're really honest, don't truly need?
Like taking on too much debt for status symbols?
Could be. Or maybe staying in a high-stress job you hate just for the bigger paycheck. Or maybe making really risky bets in the market based on what everyone else seems to be doing. These are tough questions, but answering them honestly, really digging deep, can genuinely change your financial trajectory. And maybe more importantly, it can profoundly improve your overall sense of well-being. Because This whole conversation, it's about empowering you to make choices that align with your well-being, your real values, not just chasing some ever-increasing number on a bank statement.
And this brings up a really important question for you to consider, practically speaking. How can you actively work to cultivate that sense of enough in your own life, especially when the whole world seems built to constantly push you towards wanting more and more and more?
Yeah, it's not easy. It feels like swimming upstream sometimes.
It does require conscious effort. It's a deliberate act, almost like mindfulness, pushing back against these really powerful external forces. It means setting a stable goalpost for yourself, one that's anchored in your values, your priorities, not just blown around by whatever everyone else is doing or showing off.
Rooted in what matters to you.
Exactly. And it means consciously trying to find satisfaction, not just in accumulating more stuff or bigger numbers, but in the true independence, the deep peace of mind, the genuine freedom that having a well-defined sense of enough can actually bring you.
That's a different kind of wealth.
It really is. Just think about it for a second. What would your life actually feel like if you woke up most days genuinely feeling like you had enough? That feeling of sufficiency. Maybe the ultimate financial skill isn't just about maximizing returns or accumulating the most assets.
But something else.
Maybe it's mastering the psychological art of recognizing sufficiency, understanding when you have reached your definition of enough, and then finding real deep contentment in that. It's about focusing on what truly brings lasting value to your life, whatever that is for you, and then working diligently to protect that instead of constantly chasing the next thing that feels just out of reach.
Choosing satisfaction over constant striving, that's powerful.
It's a fundamental shift in perspective. Outro.
Okay, let's unpack this one last time then. This deep dive into Chapter 3, Never Enough. I think it's shown us pretty clearly through these stories and insights that the power of defining and then actually sticking to your personal sense of enough is just immense.
It really is a cornerstone concept.
Yeah, it's not about limiting yourself. It's not about killing ambition. It's about the much more important job of safeguarding your well-being, protecting what you've already built, and maybe most crucially, preventing that kind of deep, lasting regret that even mountains of money can't fix. Understanding why people fall into that never enough trap, that's the essential first step towards protecting your own financial stability, your own mental peace, and ultimately your own happiness.
Couldn't agree more.
So, as you go about your week, maybe chew on this thought, this provocative idea I wanted to leave you with. In a world that is constantly, relentlessly telling us to want more, strive for more, accumulate more, what would it actually feel like deep down to genuinely say, you know what, I have enough?
Just letting that sink in.
Yeah. And what might actually change in your life if you truly believed it?
That is a powerful question to ponder. And it resonates deeply, doesn't it? What's really fascinating here, too, is how these behavioral insights we've dug into today, they're not just isolated ideas. They're actually foundational for understanding so many other key financial concepts.
It all connects back to human psychology.
So much of it does. The human element, our psychology, it just shapes so much of our financial reality, our successes and failures. So next time, building directly on this understanding of behavior and our relationship with money, we're going to shift gears slightly and dive into Chapter 4 from our source. It's got another great title, Confounding Compounding.
Ooh, compounding. The eighth wonder of the world, supposedly.
Chuckles, something like that. We'll explore how seemingly small, really consistent efforts combined with patient decision-making over long periods can actually lead to results that are so extraordinary they almost seem to defy